I want you to picture something for me. Close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving, obviously.
Quick safety first.
But imagine you are standing in the middle of a field. It is pitch black. No city lights, no moon, just you, the grass, and the dark. And then you look up, and you see it. That massive, crushing expanse of stars. The Milky Way is just tearing a jagged line across the sky. And in that moment, when the sheer scale of it hits you, do you feel alone? Or do you get that weird, creeping sensation that the whole thing is looking back at you?
The cosmic stare.
Yeah.
It's universal human experience. I think everyone knows that feeling.
Exactly. That shiver, that feeling of being watched by the void. It's the ghost in the machine versus the ghost in the universe. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It's good to be here.
Today, we aren't just doing tech trends or political analysis. We are getting into the deep end of the pool. We are taking a stack of research that includes heavy neuroscience essays from Eon, quantum mechanics breakdowns from PBS Spacetime, some really dense biological studies from ConnectSci, and even some comparative philosophy, and we are aiming it at the biggest question possible. Is the universe conscious?
It is a massive question.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, if you asked this, you would get laughed out of a scientific conference. It sounds like something you talk about in a dorm room at 3 a.m. after too much cheap pizza.
Totally.
It feels like science fiction.
Right. It feels like woo-woo. But what I love about this stack, and why we are doing this today, is that we aren't using woo-woo sources. We are looking at this through the lens of hard science and rigorous philosophy.
That's the only way to approach it, I think.
We want to know, is that feeling of connection, that cosmic stare, real physics? Or is it just our brains playing tricks on us because we are desperate for friends?
That is the mission, to bridge the gap. We have to look at the biology of the brain, the physics of the atom, and the philosophy of the self. We need to figure out if consciousness is something locked inside our skulls, a biological accident, or if it is a fundamental property of the cosmos itself.
Before we get into the heavy lifting, I want to set the stage visually. We have some images in our source pile from the European Space Agency and NASA, specifically the shots from the Euclid mission and the Hubble. There's this one shot of the Helix Nebula.
The Helix Nebula is often called the Eye of God.
And for good reason. When you look at it, it really does look like a giant glowing iris. It has that pupil in the center, the colored ring around it. It is visceral. You look at that and your brain just screams, that is an eye, that thing is seeing me.
It is a powerful intuition, and the scale of it. Light years across. It makes you feel very small and very seen all at once.
And then there's the Horsehead Nebula, those swirling clouds of gas and dust. It looks like a figure rising out of the mist. It looks intentional.
But that is the trap.
Yeah.
That is exactly where we have to start, by dismantling that instinct. Just because something looks like an eye doesn't mean it sees. Just because a storm is complex doesn't mean it's thinking.
Because our brains are pattern-matching machines, right? We see faces and toes.
We do. We suffer from pareidolia. It's a known cognitive bias.
Yeah.
And if we are going to spend the next hour figuring out if the universe is awake, we have to be very, very careful not to just project our own biology onto a cloud of gas.
We have to define our terms.
We have to define what thinking or looking back actually means before we go attributing a mind to the stars.
Fair enough. So let's start with the thing we know is conscious. Us. Our brains. The biological baseline.
The forest versus the computer.
Yeah, let's dig into this Aeon essay by Peter Lukács, because this actually annoyed me a little bit. I'm a big fan of the brain as computer metaphor. I use it all the time.
Most people do.
I say things like, I'm processing that, or my hard drive is full, or I need to download that information.
I need to rewire my habits.
Exactly. Rewire. It works. It makes sense. We take in data, we process it, we output action. Why does Lukács think this metaphor is leading us down the wrong path?
Because it implies an engineer. I mean, think about a circuit board. Think about your laptop. It is engineered. It is precise.
Top-down design.
Absolutely. If you want to change how it works, you have to open the case, take a soldering iron, cut a blue wire, and solder a red wire. It is a top-down modification. The components are hard, static, and distinct.
Okay. And the brain isn't like that.
Not at all. Lukács argues that the computer metaphor makes us think of the brain as hardware, but the brain is wetware. It is organic. A much better metaphor, and the one he pushes for, is a forest.
A forest. Okay, let's unpack this. Why a forest?
Think about how a forest grows. It doesn't have an architect. It has an ecosystem. Trees compete for sunlight. Roots tangle and fight for water and nutrients. Underbrush dies back if it doesn't get enough resources. It is a messy, chaotic, self-organizing landscape.
So it's bottom up, not top down.
Completely. And it's alive. It's constantly in flux.
So when I'm learning something, say I'm trying to learn Spanish, I'm not writing code to a hard drive.
No. You are cultivating a garden. You are physically growing new dendrites, new branches between neurons. And here's the key. You are also pruning.
Pruning.
Yes. In a forest, if a path gets walked on frequently, the vegetation dies back and the path becomes clear. If you stop walking it, the forest reclaims it.
The path disappears back into the undergrowth.
The brain works the same way. It is about use it or lose it. Synaptic connections that are used frequently get stronger, and those that aren't, they wither away.
That feels, well, it feels messier, but it also feels more forgiving. It's not like once a file is corrupted, it's gone forever.
It is messier. It implies that the brain is constantly growing and decaying simultaneously. It is a landscape of vegetation, and this distinction is crucial for our big question about the universe.
How so? Connect the dots for me.
Because if consciousness is inherently biological, if it requires this wet, messy, organic forest dynamic, this competition for resources, then it becomes much harder to say that a computer could be conscious.
Because a computer isn't red.
Well, yes, but more than that. Because a computer isn't alive in the sense of struggling to survive, a computer doesn't prune its own wires because it's trying to save energy. A galaxy made of plasma and vacuum doesn't compete for sunlight.
So the argument is, consciousness isn't just processing data. Consciousness is a side effect of life. It's a side effect of trying not to die.
Precisely. It's an emergent property of a very specific kind of complex, adaptive living system.
And this is backed up by the Connexi findings in our stack, right? They were looking at the biological roots of what makes human and animal minds special.
Yes, they focused on two very specific traits, imagination and rhythm.
I saw that. The ape study and the baby study. Let's start with the apes.
Let's talk about the apes first. The study showed conclusively that great apes have the capacity for make-believe.
Which sounds cute. Look at the monkey playing pretend. But biologically, that's actually a huge deal, isn't it?
It is a massive cognitive leap. I mean, think about what is happening in the brain when you play make-believe. You have to look at an object, say a stick.
Okay.
You have to acknowledge the reality. This is a stick. But simultaneously, you have to run a simulation. This is a snake. You're holding two conflicting realities in your head at once.
You are hallucinating on purpose.
In a way, yes. You are running a counterfactual simulation. And the question is, why? Why would evolution burn so many calories doing that? The brain is an energy hog.
Right.
Why waste energy pretending a stick is a snake?
Prediction. Planning for the future.
Exactly. If I can imagine a snake where there isn't one, I can practice what I would do if a real snake showed up. I can simulate the future. I can plan. I can learn without the risk of actually getting bitten.
So consciousness, this ghost inside us, is basically a survival simulator. It's a way to time travel into the future so we don't get eaten.
That is the biological argument. It's an evolutionary advantage. And then look at the babies. Connexi reported that infants, long before they can walk or talk, have an innate sense of rhythm.
I've seen that with my nieces and nephews. You put on a beat and they start bobbing. They can't even hold their heads up properly, but they know where the one is.
That is not just a quirk. That is deep evolutionary coding. Rhythm is about anticipation. It's about predicting the next moment in time. But more importantly, it is about synchronization. It is about social bonding.
Moving together.
If a tribe moves together, acts together, and anticipates together, they survive. If you are out of rhythm, you are vulnerable. You're the one the lion picks off. So we have these two pillars of biological consciousness, make-believe for prediction and rhythm for connection.
So let me play the skeptic here. If I buy this, if I accept that consciousness is defined by these specific biological needs, simulating the future to avoid predators and keeping the beat to stay in the tribe, then a rock can't be conscious.
Correct. By this definition, no.
And a star can't be conscious. A galaxy doesn't need to play make-believe. A black hole doesn't need to clap on the beat.
That is the hardline biological conclusion. It suggests that consciousness is a local phenomenon. It is something that happens in forests, not in the vacuum. It implies that the lights are on in our skulls, but outside, the house is dark.
Which is lonely. It means that when I look at the Helix Nebula and feel that connection, I'm just projecting my own forest onto a bunch of gas. I'm the one doing all the work, not the universe.
It creates a very sharp divide.
Yeah.
There is us, the living thinking forests, and it, the dead clockwork universe.
But it weren't stopping there, because if biology slams the door on a conscious universe, physics seems to be cracking a window open.
Physics, and specifically quantum mechanics, kicks the door wide open. Or at least, it takes the door off its hinges and replaces it with a question mark.
We're pivoting to the PBS spacetime sources now, and we have to talk about the blurriness of reality.
The quantum layer. This is where things get really strange.
Now, every time I try to read about the double-slit experiment, I feel like I understand it for about 30 seconds, and then my brain melts. So let's try to keep this grounded.
It is notoriously difficult. Richard Feynman famously said, "I think I can safely say that nobody understands quantum mechanics." But let's try.
Give me the bowling ball version.
All right. Imagine you are at a bowling alley. There are two lanes open, let's say lane A and lane B. You roll a bowling ball. In our normal world classical physics, the ball goes down lane A or it goes down lane B.
It's simple enough.
It is a solid object. It has a specific location. It cannot be in two places at once.
Right. It's either here or there.
Now, shrink that bowling ball down to the size of an electron. You fire it at a wall with two slits in it, two little lanes. If you are not watching, if there are no detectors to see which lane it picks, the electron doesn't choose.
What do you mean it doesn't choose?
It acts like a wave. It goes down lane A, and lane B at the same time.
It splits.
No, it doesn't split like an atom splitting. It enters a superposition of states. It exists in a probability cloud where it is simultaneously in both lanes. It ripples out, interferes with itself like water waves crashing together, and hits the back wall in a pattern that proves it was in two places at once.
Okay, my brain is already starting to hurt. So matter, stuff, isn't solid. It's a ghost.
Until you measure it.
And this is the part that breaks reality.
This is the observer effect. If you put a sensor on the slits, a camera, a laser, anything to track the ball, the moment you look at which lane the electron is in, the wave stops, it snaps, the wave function collapses. The electron suddenly decides, okay, I'm in lane A, and it acts like a solid bowling ball again.
The act of looking changes what it is.
The act of measurement forces the universe to decide. The potential becomes actual.
Now, this brings us to Schrödinger's cat, the most abused animal in the history of science.
The poor hypothetical cat. He was just trying to make a point about how absurd this all is.
The idea is you put a cat in a box with a poison that triggers based on a quantum event, like an atom decaying. Until you open the box, the atom is both decayed and not decayed, so the cat is both alive and dead.
It is in superposition. A superposition of a live cat and dead cat.
And this is where the conscious universe people, the woo-woo crowd we mentioned earlier, usually jump in. They say, look, the cat isn't real until a human sees it. Therefore, our consciousness creates reality.
That is the popular interpretation, yes. It is very seductive, puts humans right back at the center of the universe. It suggests that the human mind is the magic wand that turns potential into reality. I think, therefore, the universe is.
But the PBS space-time breakdown, they don't buy that, do they?
No. And we need to be very clear here. Scientific consensus does not support the idea that you need a conscious human to collapse a wave function. This is a very common misconception.
So what counts as an observer? I always pictured a guy in a lab coat with a clipboard.
In physics, observation really just means interaction, any interaction at all. If a photon hits a wall, the wall observes the photon. If an electron bumps into an air molecule, that interaction collapses the wave function. The universe is constantly measuring itself through these interactions.
So the tree falling in the forest does make a sound, even if no one is there to hear it?
In a quantum sense, yes. The air molecules hear it. The ground feels the impact. The interactions happen. And that's enough to collapse the wave.
Okay, so that kind of deflates the balloon. The universe doesn't need me to look at the Horsehead Nebula for it to exist. It was doing just fine before I showed up.
Exactly. It existed long before we had eyes to see it. However,
yeah.
and this is a big however,
Yeah.
just because science stops short of saying the universe has a mind doesn't mean it's the same old dead machine.
What do you mean?
Quantum mechanics proves that the universe is fundamentally interconnected in a way that classical physics never dreamed of.
We have to talk about entanglement.
Spooky action at a distance.
Einstein's nightmare. He hated this idea. Entanglement is the phenomenon where two particles can be created together and become linked, no matter how far apart you take them.
How far?
You can take one particle to the other side of the galaxy. If you measure the first one, if you poke it and find out its spin is up, the second one instantaneously becomes down.
Faster than light. Faster than light. It's not sending a signal. They're one system. They aren't two separate marbles anymore. They are one mathematical object stretched across space.
So what does this mean for our is it conscious question?
It means that the atomized view of the universe, that reality is made of separate, isolated chunks of matter bouncing off each other, is wrong. Fundamentally wrong. The universe is a web. It is a unified field of probabilities.
So biology says consciousness is a local forest, physics says. reality is a connected web.
Right. And the tension between those two ideas is where we live. We feel separate. We feel like forests. But we know physically we are made of the web. We are part of that spooky action.
And that feeling of separation of I am in here, inside my head, and the universe is out there, outside my skull, is actually really painful for a lot of people. It's lonely.
It is. It's existential isolation. And that isolation might actually be a cultural product. We think it's a fact of nature, but it might just be a fact of how we were taught to think.
This is where we turn to the philosophy stack. Specifically, the Eon essay by Takeshi Morisato on Japanese philosophy. This was the part of the research that really blew my mind. I think I read this section 3 times.
The contrast between the Western atom and the Japanese ningen, it's a profound difference in worldview.
Let's break this down, because we grow up, at least here in the West, thinking of ourselves as atoms.
And the atomized self, it's deeply embedded in our worldview. I mean, think about Descartes. I think, therefore I am. The starting point of reality is me, the individual, the distinct, separate, solid point.
And we move through time like that, right? There's that other essay by Emily Thomas on the shape of time.
Right. She discusses how, in the 19th century, the West cemented this idea of linear time, a straight line, a track. And we act like marbles rolling down that track. I'm a marble, you are a marble. We might bump into each other, but we are separate solids.
It's very rigid, and honestly, it's lonely. It creates this me versus the world dynamic.
Exactly. It sets the self in opposition to the other. But the Japanese concept of ningen offers a completely different geometry of being.
So ningen is the Japanese word for human being, right?
Yes. But the kanji, the characters used to write it, tell a story. It combines the character for person, hito, with the character for between, or space, aida.
So a human isn't just a person, it's a person between.
Exactly. Or person in relationship. In this view, you literally cannot define a human being in isolation. If you take a person out of their context, away from their family, their society, nature, you stop having a human. You just have a biological object.
That's hard to wrap your head around if you're used to the marble idea. I feel like I exist even if I'm alone in a room.
You feel that way, yes.
Yeah.
But are you? Who gave you the language you think in? Who built the room? Who grew the food in your stomach? You are the result of a million interactions, the Ningen view says. We exist in this space between things. We are enmeshed. We are defined by our relationships.
So I'm not a marble on a chessboard. I'm a ripple in the board itself.
That is a beautiful analogy. Think of the ocean. You can point to a wave and say there is a wave, it has a shape, it has a height, it moves. But is the wave separate from the ocean?
No, you can't take the wave home in a bucket. If you take the water out, the wave is gone. The wave is the ocean, just moving in a certain way.
Precisely. The wave is a localized behavior of the whole. And if we apply this to our big question, is the universe conscious? The Ningen philosophy flips the script completely.
Because we stop asking, does that galaxy over there have a brain?
Right. If you are an atom, you look at the universe and ask, is that big atom over there conscious like me? But if you are Ningen, if you are a ripple,
then the question becomes, am I the universe?
the question becomes, are we the part of the universe that is currently thinking?
Oh, wow. Okay. Let that sink in for a second.
It changes the direction of the arrow. We aren't observers looking at the universe. We are the universe looking at itself.
A way for the cosmos to know itself. I always thought that was just poetic license. But you're saying it's actually the best philosophical model we have.
It aligns the biology and the physics perfectly. Think
Yeah.
about it. Biology says brains are special forests that evolved to process information. Physics says everything is a connected web. Ningen says you are a special forest growing out of the connected web.
You aren't alien to it. You aren't a ghost in the machine. You are the machine waking up.
Exactly. And that feeling of the cosmic stare we started with, maybe that's not the universe looking at you. Maybe that's you recognizing yourself in the universe.
A feeling of homecoming.
Yes.
This connects back to why we even ask these questions in the first place. Why do we want the universe to be conscious? Why do I get that shiver when I look at the stars? It's because I'm lonely.
It's the drive to belong.
Yeah.
Our brains are wired for it. And we have another essay in the stack that touches on this beautifully, the piece by Yogi Hale Henlin about solar punk and compost modernity.
Yeah. Compost modernity. I love that term. It sounds dirty, but in a good way.
It's earthy. It's an antidote to the high-tech, sterile vision of the future. We often think of the future as chrome, glass, clean, dead.
Sci-fi future.
Right. Compost modernity argues that we should embrace the the mess. We should embrace the decay and the growth. We should see ourselves as part of a cycle.
It's about being a gardener, not a master.
Yes. For centuries, we've tried to dominate nature. We've treated the world like a dead machine that we can exploit. Compost modernity and solar punk suggest we need to reintegrate. We need to become ningen with the planet. We need to realize we are part of the compost pile.
We're a part of the cycle. And this brings us back to the visuals. We talked about the nebulas, but there was another image from the European Space Agency, the Olympic view of Earth.
Yes, the view of Earth from deep space.
When you look at that, you don't see borders, you don't see nations, you don't see atoms.
You see a system, a single breathing, flowing organism. The clouds move like fluid. The oceans circulate heat. It is one thing.
And we are just cells on that thing.
So is the Earth conscious? Well, you are conscious, and you are part of the Earth. So in a way, yes, the Earth is conscious through you. You are its nervous system.
That is comforting. But I want to push on this participant idea a bit more, because so far we've established that we are part of the universe. We are the sensing organ of the galaxy. But does that mean we have any power, or are we just watching the movie?
This is the open question part of our deep dive. We are entering the realm of speculation, but it is speculation grounded in the physics we discussed.
Let's go back to PBS space-time and that concept of time.
Specifically, the video on time is real if viewed through heat.
This blew my mind. Physics says that on a microscopic level, most things work forwards and backwards, right? The laws are time-symmetric.
Right. If you zoom in on two atoms bouncing off each other and you play the video in reverse, it looks perfectly normal. The laws of physics don't care about past or future.
Except for one thing.
Entropy. The second law of thermodynamics, heat. You can't unscramble an egg, you can't unburn a match. The flow of time, the arrow of time, is defined by the increase of disorder, by heat dissipating.
And we are heat engines.
We are. Life is a process of fighting entropy locally while creating it globally. We burn food to create order in our bodies, but we release heat into the universe. We are literally surfing the wave of entropy. We are processes, not objects.
So our consciousness, our experience of the now, is tied to this burning. We aren't just floating in a static block of time. We are burning our way through it.
And if we go back to the quantum idea, remember how we said interaction collapses the wave function? That measurement turns probability into reality.
The bowling ball snapping into the lane.
If the universe is a haze of probabilities, a maybe, until an interaction happens, and if we are these intense engines of interaction, of perception, of measurement,
then we are the ones making it real.
We are the scribes. By living, by perceiving, by interacting with the world, we are collapsing the wave functions. We're turning the maybe into the is. We're writing history.
We aren't just watching the movie, we are the projector. Or maybe we're the film burning in the projector.
We are participating in the creation of reality. The block universe might exist as a potential, but we light it up with the arrow of time. We chart a course through it.
That makes me feel a lot more important than just being a monkey on a rock.
It implies a responsibility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If we are the universe's way of knowing itself, if we are the eyes of the cosmos, then what we choose to look at matters.
It matters what we pay attention to.
Exactly. If you spend your life focused on hate or division or trivialities, then the universe is experiencing hate and division through you. If you cultivate your forest, your mind towards connection, towards mingen, towards understanding, then the universe is learning to understand itself.
That brings it all the way back to the biology. Cultivating the forest.
Yes. You are the gardener of a small patch of the universe, and how you tend that garden affects the whole web.
So, to bring this all in for a landing, we started by asking, is the universe conscious?
And we went on quite a journey, a bit of a winding path through the forest.
We looked at the biology. We saw that the brain is a messy, organic forest, not a computer, and that consciousness is rooted in make-believe and rhythm survival traits for a social animal.
Which suggested that the universe, being cold and empty and not, a social animal, couldn't possibly be conscious in the same way. It seemed to shut the door.
But then we hit the physics, the quantum blur, superposition, entanglement. We saw that reality is not solid. It's a web of probabilities that waits for interaction.
Which proved that we are connected to everything, even if everything doesn't have a brain.
The door creaked open again.
And finally, we used the philosophy, the Ningen concept, to bridge the gap. We realized that we aren't separate atoms floating in space. We are ripples in the space-time fabric. So the answer isn't, yes, the universe is a giant wizard with a beard. And the answer isn't, no, it's a dead machine. It's more complicated.
The answer is the universe is a system that has grown consciousness. It has grown us.
We are the eyes. We are the ears. We are the part of the universe that plays make-believe and dances to a rhythm. We are its self-awareness.
And without us, or beings like us, the universe might exist, but it would go unseen. It would be a play with no audience. It would just be a wave function that never collapses.
Which leads to a terrifying thought.
Oh, I thought we were ending on a high note.
Well, it's a provocative thought. If the universe is only conscious because we're in it, if we're the ones collapsing the wave function and lighting up the dark,
What happens if we go away?
if we wipe ourselves out, if the forests burn down, does the universe go blind? Does the movie stop playing? Does reality revert to just a haze of probability?
That is heavy. Does the light go out if we close our eyes?
Or, and here's the hopeful thought to counter the terror, are we just the first of many eyes opening up in the dark?
Maybe there are other forests growing on other rocks, looking up at their own horsehead nebulas, wondering the exact same thing.
Maybe the universe is just getting started at waking up, and we're just the dawn.
I think I'm going to need to sit with that for a while. Maybe go outside and stare at the stars tonight.
Just remember, when you stare at them, they are staring back,
Mhm.
because you are them.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Stay curious, keep cultivating your forests, and we'll see you in the next one.